Hi, everybody. I know this is a very informal look for me, but I just wanted to say I forgot to do my opening the other day for the podcast with Dr. Carolyn Flanary. And here's why. I got off this podcast, y'all, and I was flying high. This woman has so much incredible knowledge and information, and what she talks about from vibration and frequencies and understanding how the autonomic nervous system works, how the regulation of the body works at the level of vibration and frequency, really explaining quantum physics. This is a little bit longer today. You are going to want to stick with this. This is not a light one you can listen to while in the background. Carolyn talks as fast as I do. She's from Texas. She's an amazing orthodontist that gave up her practice 3.5 years ago to help her friends in pursuit of helping them with their chronic illness. I look forward to each enjoying this. We're having a snow day in Pennsylvania today, so thank you for accepting my informality and enjoy the beats today. I know this one's going to light you up, and we are so excited to bring a new device into our center based upon today's podcast that you have an opportunity to listen to and hear where we're going next. Look forward to seeing you on the other side. Welcome back to the Beats with Kelly Kennedy, and I'm very excited to share all with you Dr. Carolyn Flanary, who I've only met about 1.5 years ago, but we became fast, furious friends because we have a very shared passion when it comes to helping people that feel like they're unhelpable. And Dr. Flanary was more of a physician of the mouth. She made a transition a couple of years ago. I'm going to let her tell you the story, but one of the reasons I want to have Dr. Flanary on today is because she has an incredible center in San Antonio, Texas. And Texas, by the way, is one of my favorite states, and San Antonio is one of my favorite cities in the whole world. And I can't wait to travel freely again because I'm definitely coming down, because she has so many devices and such an incredible paradigm and such a perspective on this that I wanted to share that with you. It's very much in alignment with everything we do here. But when we talk sometimes at night, it's like if the world could hear what we're saying, they would freak out. So that's why we have Dr. Carolyn Flanary. Welcome, and thank you so much for your time today down there in the state of Texas. Thank you for joining us.
You are so cute. It is my divine pleasure to join with you, Kelly. No question about it. Yeah, we were absolutely fast friends. There was something the commonality in us. We were like sisters. Anyway, it's interesting. I got into what I'm doing right now, literally as an answer to a call from my friends. When you have two girlfriends who don't know each other, both tell you within a 2-week period that they're ready for Jesus to take them in the night because their chronic illness is they are in such misery, that gets your attention, especially when you love both of them so much and you're just thinking, what? How could that even be? And they are not even 60 at the time they're telling you this. So this is really, it was so disturbing to me. And my problem was, had I been able to send them to anybody who could even begin to ask the right questions to address what they had, I would not be doing what I'm doing right now. So I wound up selling my practice sort of in a way on a huge mission to save my friends. And, they're worth it, I'll just say. And then along the way, there are lots of people that I'm picking up and dusting them off too, to get them back on the road to health. But I went on a huge search, and it started out with some of the greatest of the greats, Dr. Daniel Pompa. It went on to be, so many mentors along the way. It's crazy. And of course, our common link is him, but there's such mentorship with so many other doctors that if I started naming them here, we'd be here all day long, just naming the inspirations. But in trying to do that, one of his visions is health centers of the future. Well, I decided that I really was going to nail it all down. So in the last 3 years, 31 functional integrative medical conferences later, with a lot of insights to a lot of things, and the obvious insights into the way these elements need to be structured in order to get rid of chronic illness, chronic disease that so many people are facing today. So many autoimmune issues going on, and we all know all about, you know, the glyphosate and Roundup and all this stuff that we're just up against, the incredible rate of toxicities that we're up against. And so I wound up spending a couple of years getting intense training on detoxification, detoxing people. But then it was really more than that. It led me to literally create oxygen regenerative therapies. And the pivotal part of oxygen regenerative therapies is, I guess the ace of spades is hyperbaric oxygen, which attends to every cell in the body. It's so great. Your body does a happy dance when exposed to hyperbaric oxygen, with that oxygen being literally pushed out of the red blood cells into the extracellular matrix, where literally every cell is alive. It is amazing. So many neurological issues that are out there are now can be attended to. There are issues with people who have had strokes, people who have dementia, people who have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, where once they're exposed to hyperbaric oxygen, now we're off and running, because it doesn't require the blood supply, literally the vessels to get the oxygen to the tissues, because the pressure itself has pushed through that, and now oxygen is outside of the red blood cells, and it is attending to every single cell in the body. So everything is getting upregulated. Any of the brain that has suffered from lack of oxygen. Yes, ma'am.
I just thank you. And I had to run and get a notebook for those of you who are watching, because for some dumb reason, I didn't sit here with a notebook and a pen in front of Dr. Carolyn Flanary. And then she started talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get my notebook. But I want to make sure people understood what you said, because that was hugely important. So a lot of people deal with circulation issues. They deal with the fact that their oxygen isn't getting to all their cells in their body, and they try to exercise and they work on breath work and they do all this stuff. But what you had found through your 31 functional trainings and integrative trainings that you had done, able to access because you were already trained as a physician, as a dentist, but you gave all that up because your friends had problems and they wanted to go to die. Essentially, they were ready to go back to Jesus to die in their early 60s. And you said, that is ridiculous.
Before 60. They weren't even 60, in their 50s.
So you, as being the incredible investigator that you are and persistent person, said, I'm going to find another way. That's crazy. So through these 31 classes and trainings, everything, you kind of got to the point where, like, I'm going to open up my own health center of the future right now. I'm not waiting. I looked through all this. I found what it was. And one of the key components to this was hyperbaric chambers, which creates a pressure gradient by dumping a lot of oxygen into a tube, I don't know what the best word is, but a device in which the person is. And then that pressure gradient forces oxygen into the tissues. So it does not have to be circulated through the red blood cell circulation of the heart pump, correct?
Yes, it actually pushes the oxygen out of the red blood cells. So now it isn't dependent upon red blood cells going through vessels, because vessels in that scenario, it's beyond vessels. Now it's everywhere. It is literally pushed out into the water, the plasma of the blood, which is the water portion of the blood.
Into the extracellular matrix, perhaps, into the spaces between the cells, into where that 2/3 of our body composition is the spaces between the cells versus the cells, correct?
Yes, it's unbelievable. And someone who has maybe even had a stroke, they wind up having damage to an area of their brain. But all of us have areas in our body that aren't getting oxygen. It could be joints, it could be your spine, it could be anything. There are a lot of areas that are not getting oxygen in a body. And when this happens, it supersedes that. And areas of the brain, let's say for a stroke, that have been damaged, those neurons are still, they still have life in them. They're in a penumbra effect, and that those cells, those neurons can be reawakened and memory can come back. We see it in this facility day in and day out. We spend a lot of time here crying, but it's, the tears are tears of joy because we're watching people literally come back to life. It's crazy. It's people, there's a 12-year-old little girl who had a car door literally go through her head, her face, and she's missing part of her cranium. And she came in here really with a blob, just a lump. She had no, and it's amazing.
12. When you told me the story the other day, I didn't know she was 12. She's only 12.
Well, she was 11 at the time, but in the meantime, she is now, she came in as a blob, like we're talking nonverbal, no motion. She is being fed and oxygenated, everything. I mean, everything's being done for her. She's in a wheelchair. The crazy thing is, she is now, she has, her first words were Christmas Eve. And so now she's talking. She is in school. They are giving her a motorized cart that she's going to be able to run herself. And she is a typical teenager. She's constantly teasing my co-investment partner. She does this to her, you know, teasing her. I mean, she's a teenager. You know, she's feisty. It's so fun to watch.
And I know you've only been open for a year, a little over a year.
A little over a year, yeah.
So this has all occurred in less than 12 months. In the middle of COVID, this girl got better.
Yes, yeah, in the middle.
No matter when you're watching this, I want you to be aware that this was recorded in February of 21, and she opened her center in December of 19. And she has a hyperbaric chamber and a few other things, but she's right now primarily talking about the hyperbaric chamber and a 11-year-old little girl completely unable to function on her own, having manual evacuations, having IV for nutrition, being wheeled around in a wheelchair. And in 1 year is coming in, calling your business partner a loser with a signification on her head, giving her a hard time, giving her flack and slack. Because let me tell you, her business partner can give it right back to her. But she's showing her personality. So not only does she have enough energy to function and she can now motorize a wheelchair, but she's actually got enough energy to joke and jest and enjoy life. Oh my God, what a blessing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's
because of oxygen getting to the cells, because you were able to regenerate those cells.
Yes.
You weren't the oxygen ones.
The sad thing is that people don't have access to facilities ordinarily like this. There are hyperbaric units in the city, but it's for very specific, limited issues. And the thing is, the people need the access, and this child would not have otherwise been able to have that. So the mother was just ecstatic when she found us. And really, we were noticing things. I even think the very first time the very first hour she was in HBOT, it was a game changer. But we see that all the time. Hyperbaric oxygen as an entity, a modality. We've got right now a 52-year-old veterinarian, and she had a hypoxic event and was left on the floor in her home unwittingly, not knowing no one knew she was there when they found her. They had no idea how long she had been there. And now the woman is able, again, the same thing, coming in totally not able to function at all, just in a wheelchair, flaccid, no movement, no eye contact, looking into the distance. Now she can follow you with her eyes. And I promise you, I saw a smile on her face coming out of hyperbaric oxygen the other day. She came out and her face was smiling. No, I mean, not the biggest smile, but there's no question that was a very pleasant look on her face. And she is starting to glow. She is weeks away from being able to utter words. I know this, I can see it, I can feel it. And this was a very, very interesting woman. a very feisty, go-getter woman, and her daughters bring her in, and she is now able in her wheelchair. She had her brother grab her feet and say, push with her feet, now pull with your feet. So her wheelchair, she was able to take her wheelchair back and forth, flexing her legs. She couldn't move her legs. She couldn't move her
How did she get into the wheelchair? Because she was feisty and all that before, but what happened? Did she have an event of something?
She had a hypoxic event where
she had a hypoxic event.
Yes.
I knew that, but I just wanted to reiterate. So what that means is her brain was starved of oxygen. Hypoxic means no oxygen.
No oxygen.
So she had a situation that she had no oxygen in her brain for how long?
That is unknown.
Undetermined. They found her
Yes,
correct?
They found her in her home, and she was. They said they tried to do various different things to her, and basically said, take her home, get her affairs in order. The hospital said, basically goodbye. We don't know what else we can do.
Because with no oxygen in the brain, essentially you're left as a vegetable, and so they don't have a lot of hope. They don't necessarily know how to overcome that. Yes. And so how did they find you?
Online, which is the greatest thing. The daughters started doing research, and all the love of the family, everybody started trying to figure out what to do about brain neurological issues that are like that. And essentially it is as though she had a stroke. I mean, it's right. That is in a way what a stroke is as well. Right. But a different reason for it happening. But anyway, the great thing now, here is a very interesting further development in this with her, because one of the other modalities I have in this place that is, I honestly believe it is my right arm in this place to diagnose people, to diagnostically to figure out energy levels, how and why and what is the root cause of things. But this is the coolest development in this, is that I use a piece of equipment called an IMAET, and it employs quantum biofeedback. Now, this is bioenergetic medicine at its best. It can not only diagnose, well, and maybe the word is wrongly used as diagnosis. However, frequencies don't lie. And you can harness a person, you can assess the frequencies of that person and run a scan on them. And literally we ran, it's called an allergen panel. We ran a scan of 2,500 items on this woman. Now understand this, Kelly, you're gonna love this because emotions are in this panel. So here's the thing, this woman is non-responsive in a lot of ways, yet she's starting to develop a little responsivity. She's got a pleasant look on her face. She can start to track you with her eyes, and that's starting to take place, where she can look at you, literally not look through you, but look at you.
And for people to know, that's signs that her nervous system is responding, because she can send a signal now to her eyes to track. Her muscles are getting the signals at the nerve endings of the muscles to correct that smile. This is all nervous system regeneration evidence, clinical regeneration evidence of a shift in her nervous system tissue, because signals are getting somewhere. She was sending them, they just weren't being received, or maybe she couldn't send them. We don't know, but now there's a significant shift in the clinical experience. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And she's moving her arms, she's moving her legs. She's going to be verbal here soon. I'm
calling the Sonners as soon as we're done. I want to know how I can get an H-spot. I'm like freaking out right now.
It's unbelievable. Well, it keeps us in tears all the time, I swear. Yeah. Tears of joy, though, not unhappy. Yes. This is happy tears.
Wonderful.
But in this scan that we did of her, here's what's really interesting. And this was another tear-filled event. When we scanned all these items, of course, we see various different things. She's got very high levels of oxygen in her tissues now. So even while she's in that oxygen chamber, she is going up to 100% oxygen perfusion while she's in there, which is awesome. but it is causing things to come back. That penumbra effect of those neurons that have been asleep are waking up slowly but surely. But in the scan of her frequencies, which include all different sorts of things, it includes meridians and energy fields. It includes genes. So epigenetically, we can actually tweak things epigenetically to upregulate various genes that aren't functioning right now. It includes pathogens that could be, or mold exposure. Those show up in frequencies, and the body is either aware of it or it's screaming about something. So there is a test single item for these various different frequencies that have been entered into this program. Well, lo and behold, when we looked, as we started to go through the 2,500 different items, and there are various things coming up. Some of the things are simply food that she's been given, or vitamins, or something she's got a PICC line, so she's being intubated for her feeding. So it could be something that's just the food that she just had. But the interesting thing is the first emotion that in this chronology and in this prioritization of frequencies that her body is very aware of right now is the first word that was emotion was love. When we went and tested that single test item, it showed up as a 99 on a scale of 0 to 100. While this scan was being done, she was in the room with myself, her two daughters that are lavishing love on her, doing everything for her they possibly can. Her own mother, this woman's own mother, is part of this team. This woman's brother is part of this team. They all take turns bringing her in, climbing into the chamber with her, various ones doing it. But here's the thing, she could not express herself back to them. So on the screen is the word love coming up as a 99, screaming love back at them. But she can't say it, but her frequencies are there expressing it. Now that's rich to me. Is that incredible?
I mean, you all know I don't get speechless, Moss. I have nothing to say to that. I mean, I'm so emotional right now. I'm trying not to talk because I could feel how that hit my heart. And, well, you know, from this podcast is called The Beats, because I know from the Sound of Soul, and Carolyn and I have talked about this, we just have yet to get her physically in the same space to experience that, the same thing that she knows, Sound of Soul, healing the heart, playing that frequency back for yourself. This is the key to healing. And, you know, her friends are the luckiest people alive because they have such a good friend that she literally gave up her entire livelihood to find a solution. That's true love. That tells you who this woman is and why she gets the results she does, because she's so incredibly authentic. And that is the key, though. The beats of Not Meds is really to teach us that we have the healing power inside of us. And love is the key, not fear.
Yeah.
Love is the key.
Yes, it supersedes that for sure. But it is interesting. And the other thing about her is the true nature of this woman. She was a veterinarian, and she is going to be again, by the way, we're speaking that. She is going to be again. All of her animals, all of her clients, all are missing this woman. She served a huge role, and a fabulous woman. But it's interesting because in there are other characteristics of her personality. So as I'm going through all these things, and I'm just focusing on the emotional now because her genes that are working or aren't working are in there, her enzymes that are working or not working are in there. So I have all the things, the possibilities to upregulate those things. But the coolest thing is that, yes, is she domineering? Yes, is she stubborn? Yes, is she a go-getter? Yeah, all these words that are coming up are in there too, because this is the true nature of who she is. She's very driven. She's a strong woman. And there's nothing wrong with being stubborn because you're stubborn about things that you believe in. But anyway, her daughters were saying, yep, that's her. And then also in there was giving, and it was showing up as a 99 too. So love and giving were the two earliest emotions showing up. And then the other things, other characteristics of her were showing up as well. But I mean, that's amazing because the woman, you know, she wants to say or speak so much because she sees what they're doing for her. And you know,
she has no way to verbalize that in the physical plane.
Yes.
Because her physical body wasn't allowing to her, but her emotional body, your vibrational body.
Crazy.
You have a tool that allows them to read that, access that, and interpret it into the verbiage, the physical that she wants to express.
Yes. And I mean, that is the shock of it's just so crazy how that works. But again, there are other things in there. You know, she has an ongoing candida infection, which would be correct because she had a lot of antibiotics. They didn't know what was, you know, they gave her various different things when she was at the hospital. And so now, you know, that is showing up as a 99. So we know we need to deal with that. But the great thing is with frequencies, being able to literally read frequencies in a person, that it is like, you know, Olivia Newton-John has that song, Let Me Hear Your Body Talk. Well, my God, the body is our frequency. We are not particulate. We are frequency beings.
Right.
And, you know, Tesla and Einstein are literally doing cartwheels on their little clouds in heaven, hearing this verbiage, hearing me say this. I'm sure if they're listening, if they're able to hear this, they're like going, you go, girl. But we are, and that is also another, all of the things that we have here, including the Flowpresso that we share in commonality with you, a way to help people have that shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic, to have that lymphatic drainage, you know, re-energized, because so many of us are challenged there. But in many respects, that also, I do believe, especially because of the infrared that's in that, I believe this is also a frequency driven modality where you start layering these things.
Well, it has the PEMF technology in it as the nanotechnology. So it has the frequency stimulating at the thoracics to help the emotional cord. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to mention that. So
yes, well, it has that as well. Yes.
And the layering effect, though, go back to that, the layering effect.
Exactly. So many of the things that we have here are frequency things. We also have something called the TRT soft wave here, and that is a frequency. It is a sound. It's an acoustical, they call it an acoustical soft wave or shock wave. And that is a frequency device that literally helps to stimulate the creation of stem cells in our body. They call that the blue collar workers stem cell machine. And of course, it's a fraction of the cost of what regular stem cell therapy would be, you know, charging. So that's another modality. All these things layer upon layer to help out the people. I mean, we actually, with this woman, the veterinarian, when they brought her in here, she had such an ulceration. They had given her, you know, you get decubitus ulcers in a hospital where they're not moving you properly, where you're getting pressure sores. And it was like huge literally at her sacrum level.
Bed sores. She's talking about bed sores, where because you're not moving, it really creates a problem, more like pressure. It creates a hole, and then the body is kind of eating on itself because it's sick. Yeah.
Yes. Well, in this facility, we actually were able to, early on when she came for the hyperbarics, we were also able to use this TRT soft wave on that ulceration, and the TRT soft wave accelerates wound healing. I mean, it is FDA approved for, it is totally about that. It also addresses neurological issues and many, many things. That particular company is, boy, there's a lot to go to school on that piece of equipment. But suffice it to say, after only one treatment on that bed sore with that woman, as big as that was, it started healing, and it was so deep and ulcerated. And the doctors, when they took her back to get that checked, because they were beside themselves, that had occurred. And honestly, that's negligence in my estimation. But anyway, when they took her back, the doctors were bamboozled. They couldn't believe it had healed that quickly. And that was only one application. You know, it's crazy. So yes, we are employing a lot of modalities.
I want to reiterate what you just said. So essentially, what your focus is at your center is dealing with frequencies and assessing frequencies and generating frequencies, because you're working at the vibrational level, correct?
Correct.
You have HBOT, which increases oxygen, TRT, which increases stem cell, IMAET, which is assesses frequencies, but also does therapy on frequencies, right?
Yes.
And then flow presso, which assess the body in the parasympathetic. So you have oxygen, stem cells, and parasympathetics. Okay, what else heals besides oxygen, stem cells, and the parasympathetic? Don't know anything personally. Okay,
now, wild. Yeah,
like water and water frequency. Okay.
Yes, and we also have beamer and infrared band, but the flow presso really is the infrared incorporated into that lymphatic massage that is so amazing, and also with that PEMF at the nape of the neck level that is also influencing, that emotionality, that whole healing. And you know, obviously we have to get into parasympathetic for the rest, digest, and heal mode. But these things are doing that. They shift those gears. It's like almost everything we're talking about is doing that.
And this is truly of the future. Like it's in the present. Okay. And it's taking all the ancient wisdom from the past, just using future technology. So you spoke about Tesla, you spoke about Einstein, you spoke about these great scientists. So we've talked a lot on this podcast, and I know we've been a little bit longer, but this last part, Dr. Carolyn Flanary is one of the most intelligent women that I know, and she really understands science. And I want her to just speak about frequency, because I've said it, but I want them to hear about it in your words. What do you mean by everything is a frequency? Can you extrapolate on that a little bit? Unpack that?
We are a frequency. We have a torus field around us. It looks like a great big donut around us, called a torus field. And that field extends out about 5 feet. And emotions are actually trapped in that field. The further out we go, those frequencies are literally prior to birth, even in the womb, at conception, literally, you can have an event take place that is in that frequency on the outermost of your torus field. The closer you get to the body, now we're in real time right now. But all of us have that field, and that's why you get around somebody every now and then where you bump into their torus field, because you've got a 5-foot radius around you, and so do they. And if that field, there's something about them, you feel uncomfortable, or there is something in them that is in that field, and you're sensing it literally. Now, this sounds like crazy talk, and I'll say 5 years ago, I would have probably said, somebody like me was like, are you crazy? I would have literally dissed it. I would have thought, I would have gone, whatever. I would have thought about traditional Chinese medicine and meridians and energy flow and all this stuff. I would have thought this was, whatever, it's whatever, you're Western trained. But the thing is, literally Einstein and Tesla, they were cohorts, they were best buds. And I mean, it's hard when you're that smart you don't have very many people to hang out with to actually relate, I guess. So they had to be best buddies, but they definitely had a true amazing friendship. But their comment was that only when Western medicine realizes that the human is frequency driven, then and only then will they truly be able to address the person, because we're not particulate the way the pharmaceutical industry would have us think. And here's the other thing. I think about the supplements that I have in this facility, because I also have I call it my wall of fame, with various different supplements that have amazing frequencies. But those frequencies, the reason supplements work so well is because, number one, they're botanical, which means they have a frequency. the frequencies in them resonate with the frequency in us. That's the same reason CBD oil works, is because we have CBD receptors in us. So CBD oil works because it's a frequency driven thing. It's not a chemical. So we never, nobody ever died of a deficiency of Prozac, for instance. But in the meantime, these things literally resonate with the essence of who we are and what we are. So that's why they work. And that's also why the IMAET, which is quantum biofeedback, why that piece of equipment can address things literally remotely. My farthest away patient was in Argentina. And did that machine remotely find that woman? Oh, yes, it did. Oh, it certainly did. And that's a story we'll say for another time, because it is a long one. And boy, is that a fascinating story about this woman in Argentina who has a son in Portland, Oregon, who's an MD. And the woman was having all kinds of troubles, did not know what was driving it. And he was in Portland, Oregon, trying to deal with whatever was wrong with his mother. And the findings of that scan were really interesting indeed, what was ailing that woman. And it led us to understand that maybe a stepdad or, you know, a current husband might not have been the most faithful spouse because of what was really ailing that woman. But the IMAET could ascertain that all that distance away through what? A quantum energy field that doesn't require the internet. The equipment doesn't require. In fact, it's best if you don't have the internet on there, because you don't want the internet messing with anything about the program. So on this,
I just heard 37,000 people, hopefully, that listen to this, all their brain cells just exploded. So
well,
back up the train. This is awesome. And I don't care how much longer this podcast goes, as long as you have the time, I have the time. Because here's the thing. This is the element that people need to understand.
Well,
Quantum
it is.
Physics does not, you don't need an electrical source to tap into the quantum field.
Yes.
Please unpack that, please, Dr. Carolyn.
Yeah. It works absolutely without. One of the, there is a wife of one of our patients with Parkinson's, and she decided to actually buy an IMAET and own it as an individual herself. So she could be running this treatment on her husband at any point she wanted to, and even teaching him how to use it. But when she first got her IMAET, she came to my office, and I was going to give her, you know, a big training session on it. And so we plugged it in, and she said, well, I'm going to have to, what's your password for the internet? And I said, don't you do it. We don't need any internet for that. And so we plugged it in, we ran a scan on him. Now he was an hour's drive away. And on that scan, this is a funny story. On that scan, what popped up but dark chocolate? And I said, you guys are on the keto diet, aren't you? And she said, yeah, and dark chocolate is on that. But she said, I don't think he's had chocolate. We haven't had chocolate in a long time. And she goes, oh my gosh, he got into the chocolate chip cookies we just bought. And she said, I've only been gone, whatever, an hour and a half, and he's already in the cookies. She calls him up, gets him on the phone, and she says to him, did you get in those cookies? And he said, how did you know? And she said, because it came up on your scan. Can you believe this?
Yes, because muscle testing, right? Applied physiology muscle testing is accessing that same quantum field. And this is what people need to understand. This is a science.
Yes.
And I appreciate what you said, Dr. Carolyn, because I felt the same way. When I first got introduced to all this, I'm like, what is this Chinese medicine, acupuncture theory? What are you guys talking about? But as you really understand the science, as you understand the quantum physics of it, as you understand what Tesla said, if you really want to understand the universe, then you must first look at energy and vibration and frequency to understand anything in the world.
Yes.
have to understand energy, frequency, and vibration. And
Yeah.
what Dr. Carolyn is talking about is this is the future. Like, you know, Dr. Schaffner has an oncologist at her office that's doing fiber optic IVs for cancer. I mean, this is where we're headed. You do not need to take elemental molecular substances, because this is from the concept that we are particle beings, but we know better. We're not particle beings. We've got to bring this into our world so that we can really help people, like Dr. Carolyn has helped probably, and tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm sure that you feel that you've helped more people in the last 3 years doing this type of medicine, this type of approach, than you did with all the amazing orthodontic work that you did. I know you were the top of your field as an orthodontist, but I just want to say that you probably feel like you're helping people in a much deeper way. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. Oh no, that goes without question. You know, there's something to give someone an amazing smile, that big cheesy Hollywood grin. I mean, that is so gratifying. Yes, indeed. But when you start to give somebody their life back, or you give them insights into a root cause of a problem that they have been unable to tap into, nobody seems to know. Is it Lyme? Is it not? Do you know how many false negatives on Lyme there is, and how easy it is to read that frequency in a person? Everybody, honestly, if the truth be known, everybody has almost everything in them.
Right on.
Yeah,
Right
but
on.
then what you do, yeah, everybody has everything. I mean, you think you don't, but it's only because it's at a subclinical level. It hasn't manifested itself. But now take that person, put them in, have them move into a new home. The house has had water damage. They're in mold. Their immune system crashes, and Lyme organisms go crazy. Now, they were there all the time, but they only now can surface, or, you know, or other things like parasites, where parasites are now going crazy because the immune system has been blindfolded by the exposure to mold.
Or Epstein-Barr virus. Or,
yes, and the thing is, well, even the parasites, and everybody has them. Everybody says, no, I don't. Yes, you do. Everybody has them. That's insane. I haven't found one person yet. Yeah, you come up, let me hook you up, or let me do a remote on you. I'm going to tell you what's in you. It is not what you think. I'm just going to go there and say that. And anyway, so you find the things that are actually bothering the person. Now, the thing is, an organism could be there, but when you single test item that thing, yes, somebody may have babesia. But at this moment, that's not the thing that's bothering them. That's a co-infective agent, by the way, of Lyme. The Borrelia spirochete is the granddaddy of them all. But one of the co-infective agents of Lyme is babesia. So babesia on the single test item, it shows up as a low number, maybe a 17 or something. So that organism is present in that person. But the one that's showing up as a 99 is maybe Bartonella Hensley, which is from cat scratch fever, you know, where this person was scratched by a feral cat. They wound up with cat scratch fever with all the lymph nodes swollen. They wound up on some drug regimen, but those organisms are still in that body, and they are still there. And the minute the immune system is compromised for whatever reason, and God knows we're up against so many toxins, our toxic world is compromising our immune system.
And so stress.
Yeah.
Stress compromises your immune system.
It's insane. It's insane. So we have all these hidden infections that we don't realize we have. The toxins will take out our immune system. Mold as a biotoxin will literally blindfold the immune system. So nothing is really working the way it should be. And, you know, these things are allowed to manifest, and people come in not knowing, what do I have? I mean, nobody's able to figure out what's wrong with me. I've got all this chronic illness, and everybody looks at my blood tests and they say, you're normal. Like, what? No, you're not. You're not normal. This is not normal. It's coming up as a 99. This thing is coming at you. Your immune system is compromised because of this, and this, and it shows up in frequencies. It's so easy to read.
It's so easy to read frequencies. And because I hear a lot of people questioning right now, but why wouldn't it show up in the blood work if it's showing up in the frequencies? And let's just speak to that for 1 second. Because in the blood work, the job of your body is to create homeostasis and blood work. And in order to do that, it's juggling 1537, 855 balls. What the frequency testing does, what live blood does, what CRT does, what regulatory testing does, is it looks at what are those 17 balls that it's juggling in order to create that homeostasis. And so it's looking at the more subtle energy bodies to find out what the body's dealing with, so that the physical body is the output, is the outcome of all of that.
Yes.
And this is why she's so brilliant. This is why we're so excited to have her on our show. And this is not going to be the last time we have her on our show, because this, and we got to give all your deets, because I can hear people like, oh my God, she can do this long distance. I want to consult. Like I've been saying that I'm going to come and visit her for months, but Corona, I'm sitting there going, oh no, none of you are getting a consult before me. I'm going to do my IMAET. We've talked about it too many times. But, it's really amazing. Truly, Carolyn, what you put together at your center and what you have given access to people for, it's truly amazing. And there is always hope for the body. There's always hope. If you have a fire in your belly, she can tell you in the IMAET if you have one or not, and then we can go after it. Well, go ahead.
Yes. Well, the interesting thing is that I've been telling you things about diagnostically what's possible, but what was interesting, let's say the woman that was in Argentina had all these organisms that were transmitted to her that she should not have. However, someone that she was married to was maybe not as faithful and running around and whatever. And so now she's got these organisms. So here's the issue. You can come at those organisms energetically. So she's in Argentina. I run the panel of all these pathogens. I run a panel of her hormones, because you can level out the hormones. So I run that panel. I run a scan of her spine. Her areas of her spine are impacted because the organs of her abdomen that are literally on fire because of these pathogens in her, these organs are also connected to a spine. So we've got lumbar issues, and lumbar in that area. When you scan the spine, that energy is zapped. It's low energy. And so what needs to happen is we've got to infuse energy into that. There are meridians that are down. Literally, it's like, I describe it as, it's like you have a Christmas tree with a lot of Christmas tree strands of lights on a Christmas tree. And it only takes one bulb in a strand to bring that strand down. Now, I compared the strands to meridians in the body. So what is the bulb that is literally causing
the whole strip to go out,
the whole strand to go down, and what needs to be replaced, or what energy infusion needs to happen, or what is causing that breakdown in that. It's like an electrical circuit, but it could be a scar. It could be, you had a C-section once upon a time, and that scar is breaking the whole energy field in you. There are ways of eliminating this and minimizing it and getting the energy flow back in the body, but we are energy flow. And yes, oxygen is very important for that energy flow to be possible, but not only is it our bodies, but we also have membrane potentials in our cells. This is all about electrons. It's all about energy. It's all about plus minuses. It's all about the on a membrane, that whole electron potential to be active and working, and allowing hormones to get into a cell, allowing the cell that is toxic to be able to flush its own commode and get the toxins out. I mean, all these things are energy, 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 because healing is voltage. And I'm quoting Dr. Jerry Tennant, whom I adore. That's another thing that I have, a modality. I have his biomodulator, his biotransducer. And this man, boy, you go to school on Dr. Jerry Tennant of the Tennant Institute, and you've got something. This man is so right on. He is a former head of ophthalmology at Parkland when he was 56, and literally brought himself back to life after having been bedridden for 8 years with 3 viruses that no hospital, Mayo, all the big hospitals could not figure out an answer for him, and said, go home, make your put your affairs in order. Well, he's 81 right now. And what did he do? He recognized traditional Chinese medicine and meridian energy. So bioenergetic medicine, hello, it is alive and well. The fact that most people aren't aware of it doesn't eliminate it, or doesn't, my God, it's the most powerful thing that you could do remotely. So in a future broadcast of yours, and probably we're sitting on somebody's last nerve right now because this is going on forever, but at some point I want to tell you the COVID-19 adventure in New York City when COVID first happened, and a series of events that took place. And this is a great story. It's got so many facets to it. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so we'll talk about that later, but literally doing an IMAET on a woman in New York City during COVID who had walled herself off in her bedroom, leaving her husband and child out in the rest of the apartment. And she was scared half to death she was going to give it to them. Anyway, it's wild. I'm gonna
we'll table it because I know it's a great story. You tantalized me with that before, and I think that we absolutely will show and tell her that story, because I think, and we'll do it sooner than later, because I do believe that people are going to find this very resonating to them.
There's so many stories related to the IMAET that just astound.
And it's perfect to exemplify quantum physics at work. And these stories are important because people need to understand that there's a lot more out there that they might not be aware of. That's extremely evidence-based, empirical evidence. And BRMI will show you all of that. I need to hook you up with BRMI. But the point is that you have this healing capacity inside you, and the frequency inside your body is the healing. And there's great practitioners like Dr. Carolyn Flanary that you can access to, whether it's long distance or you are beneficial to be local to her. That's awesome as well. And you can turn your bodies on, whether you're desperately ill or you just want to turn up the volume. You want to get your body as protected as possible, because you know that Western medicine doesn't really have it on the coronavirus. Can we agree at least about that they really just don't have it under control? Yeah. And yet those in our biological field feel very
it's amazing,
relaxed about the whole situation. And so maybe they should take a little piece of our page and kind of ask us some questions about why we're all so darn relaxed about it, when the whole mainstream is not relaxed because they haven't found out this information. Maybe they just need access to it and understand that you can treat viruses with a frequency, because a virus is a frequency. It's not a living thing.
Yes, exactly. That to the point. Yes, it is. That is correct. It's not a living thing. Imagine that. And everybody's been led to, Okay, well.
Wow. So much for not going political, huh?
Yeah, there we go. Subterfuge. Okay, well, that's such a fun word there. But anyway, well, maybe on that note, we should sign off to these sweet people and just tell them all how much we love them. And Kelly,
where do they find you? How do they find you, Dr. Carolyn?
Probably the best way is going on to our website, oxygenrt.com. Oxygen, the letter R for regenerative, the letter T for therapy.com. And there we are. And it'll make it easy to connect with us. And so anyway, it's exciting.
And if they want to send you an email, that's available there on the website, and reach out to her. If this show today, we thank you all for spending the extra time with us today. And we know that this hit you in the heart like it hit us. And we so resonated when we met. Like she said, the frequencies just really resonated from the very minute we met. And it has continued throughout this year and a half. And we pray that all of you resonates with you. And if it does, please share it with your friends and family. Please make this the mainstream, make this go viral, so that we understand that we have better access to even better solutions and assessments than maybe we've been exposed to before. So with that, Dr. Carolyn, thank you so much.
Well,
Truly from our hearts.
You're welcome. Love you. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Signing
Bye-bye.
off.